नन्दिनि नन्दितमोदिनि विश्वविनोदिनि नन्दिनुते गिरिवरविन्ध्यशिरोदिनि वासिनि विष्णुविलासिनि जिष्णुनुते भगवति हेशितिकण्ठकुटुम्बिनि भूरि कुटुम्बिनि भूरि कृते जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि रम्यकपर्दिनि शैलसुते
Hi Murli.
Hello, Namaskaram.
Namaskaram. Shubh-prabhat.
Shubhodayam.
Subhodayam. So welcome to you and to everybody who's going to be watching this eventually. Today is a very auspicious day. Durga Mata is remembered throughout the year, every single day, but particularly today. To give a little history and a little background to what we are doing here. Murli is a writer who has studied the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Rigveda, and I was very pleasantly surprised and very, very impressed that by his knowledge of our Vedas, our ancient, what they call mythology, but it's not really a myth. They're lovely stories, storytelling, a lot of inspiration, a lot of philosophy. I think it's more of philosophy than myth, our Vedas. I've read them myself, a lot of them over the last 1 year. And after I met Murli, I got even more interested and I went even deeper into understanding our culture, my culture, what I'm born in. I feel so sad that I ignored it all these years. And now only in my 50s that I'm glad I've taken a very deep rooted interest in understanding the philosophy of our ancestors. Because I can see that I can apply almost something from every single page that I read into my life, for my life today, for our lives today. So why not we share it with others? Why not we perhaps make a series out of this that we can share via social media or via the now most popular OTT platforms, via television. And we all have our social media handles, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook, whether it's WordPress, we can even LinkedIn. We can just go around and share these chats with people. So this is the very first series. We thought we should start with Durga Puja, start with the blessings of Durga Mata, Durga Ma. And we hope we can continue this journey and share much more with all of you. Now, we decided to start our sharing of the knowledge that Murli has gained over the years by including Hindi songs, because Hindi songs are such a popular medium that cuts across demographics, cuts across religion, geographical limits. We thought, why not we do something where we can include Hindi songs. Hindi songs are heard by everybody, and if we can convey to people, we can showcase how Hindi film lyricists and even Tamil, Telugu, other languages also are perhaps inspired by the Upanishads, perhaps inspired by what the values and traditions and philosophies that have been passed down from generations to them, which they subconsciously or consciously, included in their writing. It will be great to have information and entertainment, arm in arm, like brotherhood, like a sisterhood. So Murli, let's begin our very first episode of this series. So now I hand it over to you. Can you just briefly tell us your background, amazing, innumerable books you've written that philosophize our Vedas and Upanishads?
So thank you, Rakesh Anand Bakshiji. At the outset, before we delve deep into the Indian philosophy and the different aspects of Indian philosophy that are displayed in our Hindi film songs, I would like to say one thing very clearly, that philosophy is not rocket science. Our philosophy is something that is different, that should be studied, or that should be people who study philosophy are abomins who just behave in a different way. Philosophy, as per Indian style or Indian thinking, is nothing but the way you live. It's as simple as that. Our daily life, whatever we do, from the moment we get up, we become conscious of our existence, to the moment we cease to become conscious of our existence. Philosophy tells us what we are doing, what we are thinking, and what is to be done. That's all. It is as simple as that, that Anybody can be a philosopher, one who is conscious of what he is doing or tries to understand what he is doing. That is why whether it is Veda, Upanishads, or our Puranas, or the mythology, or so many books that are written, they simply tell us what is being observed, what is happening around us, and how we understand ourselves and how to understand the things around us, the people around us. That is philosophy. And science is a part of philosophy. Science is nothing different from philosophy. It is also a kind of philosophy because it tries to understand what is happening around us and how things are happening. And so these are all interconnected because of our various non-thinking processes. We tend to separate things from each other and look at them in a separate way. For example, if in a film song, somebody has to portray a god and that writer happens to be an atheist, let us say, the writer is an atheist, and according to the situation, he has to praise the god or say something about God. For example, let us say Sahir Luchanvi. He says, संसार में सबसे बड़ी सरकार यही है. संसार में सबसे बड़ी सरकार यही है. So he is comparing God to a government. And let us say what a theist, a person who believes in God and who is always praising God, so-called theist. What does he say? ऊंचे पहाड़ पे रानी दरबार पे बैठी है. What that is what he says. Not the exact words, but that is what he says. That means whether it is a theist or atheist, they are all talking about the same thing, calling संसार में सबसे बड़े सरकार यही है. So this is what is philosophy. Whether you are a theist, atheist, whether you believe in God, trust in God, whether you trust in one particular God or trust in many gods, ultimately God we view as a person, as a being. Person is again demeaning him as a being that we cannot see, is someone who is actually governing the entire universe. Got it? So if somebody who governs the universe, somebody calls Sarkar, somebody calls God. So that Sarkar government is visible to us. We call it our government. That government which is invisible, controlling the entire universe, we call God, Brahma, whatever it is. So this is how the philosophy is built. It is built from day-to-day existence. It is completely tangible to us. Only thing is we need to have those eyes to understand it, to see them. It is visible everywhere. So this is basically Indian. I'm speaking only about Indian philosophy, not about philosophies of other regions, other civilizations or religions. And one more thing I would like to make pretty clear is in India, unfortunately, because we have this colonial mentality built into our psychology, we view religion as separate from dharma, is separate from philosophy. For us, all are interconnected. You cannot separate religion from dharma and dharma from philosophy. They are all one and the same for us. So when somebody calls a secular, somebody calls non-secular, for us it doesn't matter. We are born secular and we value everyone. For us, in Upanishads, there is a shloka. I will not quote the Sanskrit shloka because that becomes complicated. The simple meaning of the shloka is God is everywhere, but people have limited vision. So they see God as per their limited vision. For some, God is there in a stone. For some, God is there in a soil. For some, God is there in a tree. For some, God is there everywhere. For some, God is no shape at all. And for some, there is no God. What more secular can anybody become? That means we include everyone. That is our Indian philosophy.
The Bhagavad Gita translation that I have read by Swami Vivekananda, it very clearly says that Lord Krishna himself has said that you don't need to worship me. You can worship me in the universe. You can worship me in the sun. You can worship me in a stone. You can worship me in a cow. You can worship me in a plant. You can worship me in a tree. You can worship me in a seed, just a seed. You know, I keep the seed on my laptop from where I work, from where I earn a livelihood, from where I earn respect. I hope to earn respect. I hope to earn admiration for the kind of writer I want to be, for the kind of human being I aspire to be. And what does the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishad say? That we are as powerful as the seed, the human being. From this one seed, over billions of years, trillions of trees and plants have grown. In the same way, each one of us is a seed. And if this tiny seed can have that kind of power, that it can generate trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of trees and plants over trillions of years. How are humans any different? How are we any different? So when you read such powerful philosophy in Upanishad, you learn to respect them. Just how I learned to respect the seed much more after reading about this analogy in the Upanishads. So all this got me interested in going deeper, and I thought the best way is to give analogies between the philosophies of our scriptures and our Hindi film songs, because Hindi film songs we are familiar with, the lyricists we are familiar with, most of us are, or many of us are. So I thought, let's combine this and let's have this conversation.
I would like to add or complement what you said. First thing is, you gave an example of a seed. Now, because this is a scientific age, we'll go to science. What science is, even a small atom has a nucleus. A nucleus has sufficient power to destroy entire Earth. So such powerful. And we are made of millions of such atoms. The entire universe, every object, matter is made of so many millions of atoms. So how much power is there in the universe, and how much power each of us individuals have with being made up of so many millions and millions of atoms. So that powerful the universe is. And our Upanishad says, Isha Vasam Idam Sarvam. The entire universe is filled up with the God, Ishvara. So that means whether it is an atom, tree, plant, whatever it is, everything is God. So what we are talking about, a small seed, atom, or the entire universe being pervaded by the ultimate power. It is the same thing. That is philosophy. It's as simple as that, as tangible as that. Second thing is, we need to study Indian film songs, because in the present age, it is the songs that teach us how to live. It is a song that teaches us how to celebrate life, how to express our love, how to express our sadness, deep grief, whatever it is. Songs have become a part of our life. We cannot separate Hindi film songs, or for that matter, any film song from our life. Earlier we had bhajans, abhangs. They used to teach us how to live, or our granthas, Ramayana, Bharata. But now in this current contemporary society, it is the film song that is everything. So without film songs, we cannot do anything. A person may not know who is Mahatma Gandhi is. A person may not know who is Rana Pratap or Shivaji is. But he will know a Hindi film song. He will know Mohammad Rafi. He will know Amitabh Bachchan. He will know the lyricist Anand Bakshi. And he will know who is Shah Rukh Khan. So we cannot separate this from our society. So we have to study it, understand it, and take the best out of it.
In fact, in the many conversations I've had with you over the telephone, regarding the philosophies that are present in Hindi film songs and Telugu and Tamil and other languages also, I'm very, very certain. And you know for sure that they are. I really feel that it's about time that even the Indian government began to give that respect to lyricists as contributors to literature.
Yes, lyrics are literature. Lyrics are taken from literature. So when you write anything, they take from poetry. These are the poets who are writing about Hindi film song. They are not ordinary men. They are touched by that inspiration from God. Without that, people cannot write such beautiful lyrics, which teach us how to live, which teach us so many things. I'll say one thing. I will start these lyrics with a very simple stotra. When we speak about literature, it is Kalidas who comes into our mind. And Kalidas is a pan-Indian figure. Nobody can say he doesn't know him. So what he wrote is Manikya Veena Mukhalalayanti Madalasam Manjula Vaguyalasam Mahendra Neelajyuti Komalangim Matanga Kanyam Manasasmarami. That is how Indian literature is. And this Shamala Dandakam, it is called Shamala Dandakam. That is there in Indian films. In Telugu, there is a film called Mahakavi Kalidas, which is again in Kannada. And in Telugu, this Manikya Veena Mukhalalayanti is sung by Ghantasala. And again, in Kannada, Rajkumar himself sings this song. And then this Manikya Veena Mukhalalayanti is set to tune in different ragamalikas to suit the film mood and the actor and the singer. So in Telugu and in Kannada. That means Manikya Veena Mukhalalayanti also becomes a film song now, because it is sung in films, it is enacted by actors. So how can you say that film songs are not literature? If you say film songs are not literature, now you should say Kalidasu is not a literary figure, because Kalidasu's Shamala Dandakam is used in a film song. That means film song Or Shamala Dandakam as such outside is literature, but once it is used in film is not literature? Impossible. And again, there is another great literary figure. He is Shankaracharya. And Shankaracharya himself has written Aigiri Nandini Nandita Mohini Vishwavidhini Vishwanude. So even that is used in Indian films. So now, do you mean to say that because once it is used in films, Aigiri Nandini, it doesn't become a literary thing? So our concepts are all compartmentalized and made with colonial mind. Literature is any word that is uttered. Saraswati is Vak Devi. Vak is word. So any word that comes out of our mouth becomes a literature. So it is as simple as that. And that is why, because Vak is Saraswati, whatever words you utter, whatever thoughts you put it into Shabdarupa, is it in words or you utter them, you should be very careful because you are using Saraswati Devi. Saraswati Devi energy is coming out of you in the form of Vak. So that is what Kalidasa says, that is what Shankaracharya says, that is what our Indian film songs too say. So they are literature. If somebody says they are not literature, most probably he must be illiterate. That's all. And he must be educated.
In fact, I came across, I was reading the Adi Shankaracharya's translation of the, in his own words, the Bhaja Govindam. And in that there's a line which he says that time is fleeting and it never returns. And then I immediately remembered my father, Anand Bakshi Sahab's lyrics, Zindagi ke safar mein guzar jate hain jo muqam, wo fir nahi aate. So I'm not saying that Bakshi Sahab was inspired by Bhaja Govindam of Shankaracharya. But yes, I mean, it is the same philosophy. Maybe he has heard it from his parents, from his grandparents. Maybe he has read it somewhere. Maybe it is own experiences of life. His mother passed away. She never returned. He lost his motherland to partition. It never came back. So I think it reflects literature. The song from the 1970s, sung by Rajesh Khanna, Kishore Kumar. Talking about Durga Mata. So what is the significance of Durga Puja and Navratri? And how are they portrayed in our Hindi film songs? If you can name the song Mukhada and the lyricist, it will be great.
Why Durga Navami celebrated, how it celebrated, the philosophy is there. Most probably will be discussed on many platforms this entire 9 days. Let us touch briefly the philosophy of celebration of goddess birthday or celebration of puja in our Indian philosophy, and then jump into Hindi film songs and how they depict it. So the basic difference between others and the Indian way of life, the Sanatana Dharma or Bharatiya way of looking at things, is very simple. Others think that the entire universe is formed of 4 elements: Prithvi, Apas, Tejas, Vayu. That means earth, Prithvi, Apas, water, Tejas, Agni, Vayu, air. So these are the 4 elements they believe. So entire universe, these are 4 elements that they can be felt. So all their philosophies, all their thoughts, all their descriptions are limited to these 4 elements. But we and India believe in the 5th element called Akasha, that which cannot be seen, which can only be felt, not with our physical being, but with something beyond the physical. So we believe in that cannot be seen, but can be understood, felt. And that is why Vedas, Upanishads, everything says that the knowledge acquired through our physical things like eyes, ears are all limited. So you have to transgress this limitation, transcend these limitations, and then look beyond. And that is where the truth lies. But the problem is, we are all limited by our physical beings. Like Shailendra in a song says that, Jnani ki seema kaise jnani, gagar mein sagar ka pani. There is an ocean in front of us, ocean of knowledge, unlimited, infinite. But jnani ki seema kaise jnani, gagar mein sagar ka pani. Gagar is our, this one. So whatever you can acquire through with this limited means is your knowledge. Gagar mein sagar ka pani. So that we believe in that. So we have to go beyond this. But the problem is, in this physical universe, everything has to have a name and everything has to have a shape. Without name and shape, you cannot understand anything. Now you say Murli Krishna, you remember this shape. Before seeing me, you had my name, Murli Krishna, somebody from Hyderabad. Again, Hyderabad is a name. So name and shape are the 2 things which make everything tangible to us, everything understandable to us. Without that, we cannot understand. So almost all our gods, they have a name, they have a shape. And the shape is according to the gunas, according to their characters. So nothing is a waste, nothing is just done as a matter of fact in Indian philosophy, Indian way of life. Even when you have this Durga as a goddess, she has a shape, and not just one shape. Navadurga, 9 different shapes. Each shape has one particular lakshana. So you have this, and all these come together in Kali Mata. So that means even if you just look within you, you appear to be one person, but you are not one single person. There are many persons living within you. If you go to science also, genetics says that you inherit 23 chromosomes from each parent. So each parent inherits their 23 chromosomes from their parents, 46 total. So this way there are, and we live in genes. Which gene takes the shape of you, you become you. Which takes shape of me, I become I. But all my ancestors are living me through genes. That is what science says. That is what our Indian philosophy symbolizes in the form of God. Vinayaka, Lord Vinayaka is there. He has a fixed shape, but in that fixed shape, we have so many unlimited forms. The same way Durga Mata or Kalika Devi, we have her in one shape, in Calcutta one shape, in Mysore one shape, but all are connected. And we say Navadurga. So Vaishno Devi, again, a different shape, Pindarupa. So all these things have interconnection. So to study them, you need to have a holistic, you not just look at one Kalika and says that she has a tongue sticking out and she's a fearsome. This is a allegation many people use. She is a fearsome, violent goddess. There is no violence in her unless there is a violence in the other person. And she is trampling the demon under her feet. You have to be violent with the demon. That is called Satvika Himsa in Bhagavad Gita. So all our gods and goddesses, they did this Satvika Dharma to kill the demon in us and to protect the Satvika, to protect the good. That is how this Kali Mata has a shape which is black, because anger is bad, and because she is angry, she is black. It is not that it is South Indian or some influence from Africans or silly things. People imagine according to their samskara. But if you look at our Indian philosophy and understand the shapes of gods and goddesses, they reveal so much about human beings. They reveal so much about the thoughts that our ancestors, the thought process that they went in to create such a shape and to give it so many lakshanas and to extol their virtues and to explain them in a Puranic story. There are many stories regarding Kali Mata, and each story has a meaning, each story has a philosophy. It is our duty to understand it and then discuss it. And so now when it comes to Hindi films or Indian films, again Durga Mata is projected as somebody who kills evil. Villain will be trying to rape a heroine. She prays to goddess, and Trishula from goddess comes and kills the villain. There ends the matter. So goddess everywhere is depicted as somebody who kills evil. And again, Indian philosophy or Indian way of life thinking process has a unique feature. No goddess is a single unit. The same Durga Mata used to kill evil is also projected as Bharat Mata, Vande Mataram. Sujalam Sufalam Malaya Shitalam Tumi Durga Dashapraharana Dharini Namami Tarini Mataram. So again, the same Durga Mata is projected as Bharat Mata. Tumi Durga Dashapraharana Dharinim. Abala ke noma yata bole, that's what he says. You are not somebody who is Abala. Tumi Durga Dashapraharana Dharinim. So many people are there with you. Again, that goddess which has a tongue sticking out and which is very fearsome, which is very violent, is Sasya Shamala Mataram Vande Mataram. Sujalam Supalam Malaya Shitalam. So this is the thought process in India, thought process of Indian philosophy. And in our films also, if you see, Vande Mataram is a song from the film Anandamat. Hemant Kumar tuned it so beautifully, and Lata Mangeshkar singing is ethereal, out of this world. But if you see the meaning of it, Tumi Durga Dashapraharana Dharim. So he is equating Mata, mother, with Durga goddess. Our Bharat Mata. And each mother is a goddess to his individual. She protects him. She tries to kill the evil in him. So goddess protects us. Again, Sansar mein sabse bade sarkar yahi hai. So all are interconnected. And she protects, kills the evil, protects the good people. And mother also does the same thing. We have Mother India, a film which epitomizes the Indian female. Again, she kills the evil. So this is how we projected in films. And as it came down slowly, Durga Mata is projected in many ways. For example, there is a film called Basant Bahar. In that, there is a beautiful song, Bhai Bhanjana Vandana Sun Hamari, Daras Tere Mange Tera Pujari. गीतों की फूलों की माला बनाकर लाया हूं दिल आरती में उताकर ये सांसों की सरगम करूं तेरे अर्पण तुझे और क्या दूं मैं ठहरा भिखारी. Wow. See the way he has projected Durga Mata, that is fearsome, so-called violent goddess, people say. Here he is singing this beautiful song, गीतों की फूलों की माला बनाकर लाया हूं दिल आरती में उताकर. So this is how our Hindi films lyricists have understood the importance of goddess or the meaning of God in Indian philosophy and projected it in such a beautiful way. And he, in that same song, he says, Utar Jyoti Kiranon ki lekar sahare. See the imagination of the poet, Utar Jyoti Kiranon ki lekar sahare. That means each ray of goddess, the goddess is coming based on these sun's rays. And Upanishad says that the entire universe gains life through the rays of sun. Because everything is dark, sleeping, we don't know whether there is life or not. The moment sun rays fall on it, everything becomes Ghar Angan Van Upavan Upavan Kariti Jyoti Amritike Sinchan. Wow, that means the moment sun comes, the entire universe got prana, it got life. Uttar Jyoti Kiranon ki lekar sahare. That means this is the way our lyricists worked. They understood Indian philosophy, they understood our way of life, our concepts, and put it into film songs. This is one aspect. And then when you come to 70s, there is so much of problems in life. 70s to 80s, 90s is the most troublesome period of our Indian history. We had emergency, we had unemployment, we had so many things happening, and then globalization had come in. So this is the time when we have Sai Baba, we have Santoshi Mata, and Vaishno Devi all came very well into it. Now, if you see the songs written in this period, चलो बुलावा आया है माता ने बुलाया है
चलो बुलावा आया है माता ने बुलाया है.
So Mata, a mother always does good to her sons. Even when the son kills her and takes her heart to his lover, and if he strikes a stone, the heart says, son, are you hurt? So that is Mata. So चलो बुलावा आया है Mata ne bulaya hai is a song. And again, Prem se bolo, Jai Mata ki. So this is all is happening in Hindi film songs. And Shakti Dema, Shakti Dema. The first song from Basant Bahar is written by Shailendra. And the rest of the songs I mentioned so far are by Anand Bakshi, that you know. And I need not mention Vande Mataram by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. Chalo bulawa aaya hai, Mata ne bulaya hai. In that he says, Unche Parvat pe Rani maa ne darbar lagaya hai. संसार में सबसे बड़ी सरकार, that is what Sahir Lujhanvi said. Here Anand Bakshi ji is saying, ऊंचे पर्वत पे रानी माँ ने दरबार लगाया है, रानी माँ. So चलो बुलावा आया है, माता ने बुला है. सारे जग में एक ठिकाना, सारे गम के मारों का. That means whoever has got any problem, any grief, he has to go to Mata and she will solve. रास्ता देख रही है माता अपनी आंख के तारों का. That means every subject, every human being is a son. And she is waiting for them to come to her so that she can solve their problems and give them happiness. This is what our lyricists have said. And this is what the people needed at that time, because they are so grief-stricken. They had so many problems. They needed a mother-like figure. They needed a mother to give them solace. And that mother is projected in the film song. She's waiting for you to go. Why do you cry alone? She's there. So again, when people are besotted by these demons killing them and troubling them, Kalika Mata comes and kills them. Her Trishulam comes there and kills them. She comes on Sheravali, she comes on that lion or tiger and then kills them. So this is how a goddess figure becomes a mother figure. A goddess figure becomes a warrior. A goddess figure is a fearsome goddess. And so one goddess, one Lakshana is never there in Indian philosophy. She is everything to everyone because she ultimately is the most powerful darbar. That means she is maintaining that governing. So maybe government is something, the moment you say government, it includes prime minister, chief ministers, the entire government machinery. So here, when you say Kali Mata, when you say Durga Mata, Durga hai meri ma, Ambe hai meri ma, it includes the entire universe, entire protector, creator, protector, and destroyer in one person with different aspects. So this is how our film songs, though they appear to be very simple, like रास्ता देख रहे हैं माता अपने आंख के तारों का, और तूने मुझे बुलाया शराब वालिए, मैं आया शराब वालिए. They appear to be very simple, but they have a very deep inner meaning in them. सारा जग है एक बंजारा, सबकी मंजिल तेरे द्वारा. So मुंह खोलूं या तुझसे मांगो, बिन मांगे सब पाया शेरों वालिए, मैं आया शेरों वालिए. It is again by Anand Bakshi ji. Very simple lyrics. सारा जग है एक बंजारा, सबकी मंजिल तेरे द्वारा. We are all without the goddess, without the protection of goddess. We are roaming here and there without anything, without knowing anything. Banjara is somebody who has no manzil, he has no destination, he just roams here and there. So we are Banjara, but she is the destination to everyone. Whether it is not only to ask for something, ultimately here, sabke dwara tere manzil sabke dwara is have got a very deeper meaning if you delve deep into it. A philosophy, as per Indian philosophy, the entire universe is pervaded by that infinite Atma. That infinite Atma, Gagar mein sagar ka pani. So this Gagar, that infinite becomes finite when it comes to the human body. And always it searches for its meaning. That means it wants to become a part of the infinite. So that is, there is so much Ashanti in the universe, where we try to search for that infinite nature of individual human being. And then when he reaches his destination, that is goddess, he finds it there. So sabke manzil tere dwara is not just he goes to temple and does a namaskara and asks for some boon and come back. That is a normal meaning. In Indian philosophy, again, everything has three different meanings: physical, metaphysical, and above this, cosmological. So if you take this song, a simple word, everybody, your doorstep is everybody's destination. It doesn't mean that destination is a final destination. So everybody has to go there and find his peace, not a boon. Boon is a very small thing. He has to find his peace. That peace is something eternal, peace is something absolute, and it's infinite. That means each and every small word, if you take our lyricists, sometimes I wonder how they got this inspiration. A small word like Sabke Manzil Tere Dwara, if you delve into it, has so much meaning. And again, you go back to the creator, a small word. So that is how our Hindi film songs have to be understood. They have to be interpreted and sung after understanding their meaning, not just the words. He has to sing the meaning. And here, Tune Mujhe Bulaya Shara Waliye is something, again, Karma Siddhantam. We believe that in Telugu there is a song. Tirupati is a very famous destination. Everybody goes to there. But we believe that a person can go to Tirupati only when he is called for by the God, not just whenever he wishes. So, Ni Kondaku Nive Rappinchuko, he says. That means you call us to your own mountain. The same way here, Tune Mujhe Bulaya Shara Waliye. Mai Aya Shara Waliye. That means when a goddess wants to bestow boon on somebody, when a goddess becomes benevolent towards somebody, she calls him. He thinks that he is going there, but she takes him there. Karma Siddhantam. That means it is the goddess who does everything. We do nothing. We just sit here. We are Katputli. Dekho logo Katputli ka natak hai ye sansar, he says. So we are all Katputli in the hands of God. We think we are doing. But Tune Mujhe Bulaya. And in another song, he says, only those people who are called for by the goddess will go to her. Nobody on his own can go there, because there is nothing like on your own in this world. So it's a simple philosophy. In Chalo Bulawa Mata ne bulaya hai. In the beginning he says, Mata jinke yaad kare, wo log nirale hote hain. Mata jinka naam pukare, kismat wale hote hain. Then he says, Chalo Bulawa aaya hai, Mata ne bulawa hai. That means Mata is calling you. Otherwise, you cannot go there. Even if you want to go there, try thousands of times, you cannot go there. So each simple, she is, Jo log Mata yaad kare, wo nirale hote hain. Because Goddess remembered you. You always remember Goddess, because without her, you don't exist. But when she remembers you, you become nirale. So each and every word that our lyricists have written, they cannot be taken at simple their face value or just understood. They have to be delved deep into it, just like that, because they are touched by the wisdom of Goddess, the grace from the Goddess, and whatever they write has a deeper meaning, not just outer meaning. And everybody to his own. And there is, in Kranti, Santoshananji has written, there is a very beautiful song. Abke baras tujhe dharti ki rani kar denge, abke baras. Ye duniya fani hai, behta sa pani hai. तेरे हवाले ये जिंदगानी, ye zindagani kar denge ab ki baras. Now he has taken the Durga Mata as the Bharat Mata, just like Vande Mataram. So the lyrics are also written with such a fervor that bhakti and desha bhakti are not separate as per Indian philosophy. That we discussed earlier. We have no desha bhakti at all. Desham is a physical boundary. We are not worried about anything physical. It is the bhakti of goddess, which is beyond this physical. We love it. So many intellectuals say that desha bhakti, concept of desha bhakti has coming to us only after independence or something like that, after British has entered it. That has no meaning, no valid meaning at all. Because the concept of country had come into Europeans and Westerners only in the 18th, 19th century. Before that, there is nothing like that. But for us Indians, Desham or Desham Bhakti is nothing but Dharma Bhakti. And Dharma Bhakti is what? A Kashyapas starts from Kanyakumari, goes to Varanasi all the way, goes to Ganga Nadi, and he goes to Kashmir. There is no concept of physical limitations here. This is this country, that is this country. Entire Dharma from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Kutch to Kamarup is the same Dharma. So we are not worried about physical boundaries. So Desha Bhakti and Dharma Bhakti are synonymous. And that is why he says, Apke baras tujhe dharti ki rani kar denge. How he is going to make dharti ki rani this goddess? That means he is going to protect, or he is going to restore her pride, her respect, because she is under chains by foreigners. He wants to break those chains. Sukh sapnon ke saath hazare dukh bhi tune chele hai. That is what he says. And then, so that song, simple film where people dance and pray to goddess, is now being transcended into a different realm. Like दुनिया के सारे दौलत से इज्जत हमको प्यारी, मुट्ठी में किस्मत है अपनी, हमको मेहनत प्यारी, जिल्लत के जीवन से बदतर कोई कफन नहीं है. Zillat ke जीवन, that means he is now talking about himself, because he could not protect the prestige or of the goddess. His जीवन is zillat. Zillat ke जीवन से बदतर कोई बेहतर कफन नहीं है. That means death is better than this kind of slavery. देश का हर दीवाने अपने प्राण चीर कर बोला, बलिदानों की खून से अपना रंग लो बसंती चोला. अब के हमने जानी है, अपने मन में ठानी है, हमलावरों की खत्म कहानी कर देंगे अब की बरस. Now, is he talking about his country? Is he talking about a goddess? Is he talking about the entire Indian philosophy and dharma? That is how we Indians are made. For us, everything is mixed. We don't separate things. This is Deshamu, this is that. This concept has to be understood. We are completely inclusive. That inclusivity in our life, if we can understand, we don't have any differences. That is what our film song, now you see, Abke baras tujhe dharti ki rani kar denge, you saw, Durga hai meri maa, Ambe hai meri maa, you saw, Chalo bulawa aaya hai, Mata ne bulaya hai, you saw. So, tune mujhe bulaya shero wali hai, mai aaya shero wali hai, you saw. And you saw that Shailendra song from Basant Bahar, all are same. They depict the same philosophy. This unity in diversity is the hallmark of India, which has to be understood and which is projected in our film songs abundantly. Whether it is Shailendra, whether it is Anand Bakshi, whether it is Santosh Anand, they are writing about the same thing. From their own point of view, in their own way, they are expressing the same philosophy. That unity has to be brought out. And then I think whether you are a bhakta of Kali Mata, whether you are a bhakta of Vinayaka, whether you are a bhakta of Rama Krishna, we understand the unity in our gods too. And that is what Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam, our Upanishad says. This unity has to be projected. This unity is India. This is Bharat Mata, this is Bharat Desham, and this is Sanatan Dharma.
Fabulous. I think it's time for us to end this episode now. Very quickly, are there any more songs on your list which you would like to showcase as projecting our Sanskriti, our Vedic Sanskriti?
There are so many songs. There are so many things that it is.
Just very quickly name about five songs. Just the mukhras, so that people can probably go and hear them.
Song Hey Naam Re, Sabse Bada Tera Naam, Unche Shiro Wali, Bigdi Bana De Mere Kaam Naam Re. That is from Suhag. A very simple song. It appears in Suhag, thought to be a commercial film, but in this song is there.
Hey नाम रे सबसे बड़ा तेरा नाम शेरों वाली
the lyrics. ए नाम रे सबसे बड़े तेरा नाम ऊंचे डेरों वाली बिगड़े बना दे मेरे काम नाम रे. Is he talking about his normal? In the film, he'll be earning money to construct a temple and he wants to kill somebody. Is he talking only about that bigde bana de mere kam? He's talking about his character. That means God has never helps bad people. It helps only good shishta people, good people only. So to take her help, he has to become good. So entire transformation of his character, that is what he is asking. The transformation of, he knows he is bad. In the film, he knows he is bad. That is why he tries to hide from his police brother. That's a film. But if you go into the lyrics, the way our lyrics have been written, Bigde Banade Mere Kam is not small earning of that donation from somebody or earning of money. You have to go deeper into it and then you have to understand this. So don't ever say that a small song, it's a commercial film song, it's being written like this, there is nothing in it. There is a lot of things in it. It is Anand Bakshi.
Okay.
And again, one more song, same song we discussed earlier. Kaun hai raja, kaun bhikhari, ek barabar tere sare pujari, तूने सबको दर्शन देके अपने गले लगाया शेरों वाली. So each and every word and there is another song called Shakti Dema, again considered from a very Ashanti film. But हाथ पकड़ ले, हाथ बढ़ा ले, अपने मंदिर तक पहुंचा दे, सर पर दुख की रहना नहीं चैना, प्यासे नैना दर्शन के, जग में जिसका नाम है जीवन, इसका युग है संग्राम है जीवन, दुख का मारा हारा मां इस जीवन से. He has lost everything. His only hope is mother. And but the wordings you see, is he talking about a small dukh at that time? He's talking about the dukh of the entire universe, dukh of the infinite Atma imprisoned in a small physical body. So that is how the film lyrics have to be understood. That is how the film lyrics have to be interpreted and projected. They are not ordinary film lyrics in a commercial film. On screen, it might appear to be commercial, but off screen, the lyrics are Saraswati Swarupa. You have to understand the infinite nature of the lyrics.
Lovely. Thank you, Murli. This is the first episode dedicated to Durga Ma, and hope to see you again soon for our next episode. And we come to an end to our first episode of our Vedas in Hindi film songs. And have a great week ahead. Have a great day ahead. Have a great life ahead.
Thank you very much.
And thank you everybody for watching this and patiently listening to us. All the best. Thank you. Bye.